Listen, what I'm about to show you is something you absolutely need to understand. You have someone in your life who rejected you, who gave you a clear no, who closed the door on what you were hoping could develop between you. And now, after that rejection, after making their position clear, they're circling back around. They're checking in, testing the waters, seeing if you're still there, still interested, still emotionally available to them. This is emotional uncertainty playing out in real time. They turned you down with what seemed like finality, but now they're gently probing to see if you're still waiting in the wings. It's like someone who confidently passed on an opportunity, then keeps looking back over their shoulder to see if that opportunity is still sitting on the table, just in case they might want it later. The pattern here is remarkably clear once you know what to look for. They said no. Maybe kindly, maybe bluntly, but they said no nonetheless. Then, after some time passes, they start these little checking in behaviors. Why? Because somewhere in the back of their mind, they want to know that their option is still available if they happen to change their mind down the road. The breadcrumb pattern. Here's what this behavior typically looks like when it shows up in your life. After the initial rejection, after the clear boundary they set, there's a subtle return. But it's not a real return. It's a return with very small gestures, things that don't require much commitment, vulnerability, or emotional risk on their part. These are what relationship experts call breadcrumbs, and they're designed to keep you connected without offering anything substantial. Look at what a typical message looks like in this pattern. Hey, how are you? Sent at 2 a.m. on a random Tuesday. On the surface, it seems like genuine concern or interest. But look closer. It's low-effort communication that doesn't really say anything meaningful or commit to anything concrete. It's a ping, a sonar signal sent out to see if you're still there and still responsive. The timing of these gestures is particularly telling. They don't reach out immediately after rejecting you. That would be too obvious, too messy. Instead, they wait. They wait just long enough for you to start the healing process, for you to begin moving forward with your life, for the acute pain of rejection to start fading. Then, right when you're starting to get your emotional footing back, suddenly they reach out. Not with anything substantial, not with any real explanation or changed circumstances. Just enough to keep that thread of connection alive. Watch how the pattern unfolds over time. They send signals that maintain a connection without offering anything real or meaningful. A like on a photo you posted 3 weeks ago. Not a recent one, but one from the archives, showing they've been scrolling through your profile. An emoji reaction to your Instagram story. Nothing that requires them to actually say anything or make themselves vulnerable. These are low investment gestures that serve one primary purpose, keeping the door cracked open just enough. It's the emotional equivalent of leaving a foot in the doorway. They're not walking back through that door, but they're making sure it doesn't close completely either. And the frustrating part? These tiny gestures often work. They're just significant enough to reignite hope, to make you wonder if maybe they're reconsidering, if maybe there's a chance. After all, the monitoring behavior. Beyond the breadcrumbs, there's often another layer to this pattern. The observation phase. They stay aware of your life without directly engaging in any meaningful way. They're keeping tabs on your emotional state, your daily activities, your availability, all while maintaining their distance. They watch your social media activity with remarkable consistency. Every story you post, every photo you share, every update about your life, every small indication of whether you're moving on or still emotionally accessible. They're noting it all. They're gauging where you are emotionally, whether you seem happy, whether you seem to be dating someone new, whether you're thriving or struggling. The social media checking becomes almost ritualistic for them. They view your Instagram stories, they scroll through your Facebook updates, They might even check your LinkedIn profile, which is particularly telling. Who checks someone's professional profile after rejecting them romantically unless they're looking for any excuse to stay connected to your life? These are profile visits that often show up in your analytics. Quiet evidence that they're still watching, still paying attention, still monitoring your life from a distance. Sometimes they're careful enough not to leave obvious traces. They watch your stories from a secondary account, or they check your public profiles without logging in. But the monitoring continues regardless because they want to stay informed about your emotional availability without having to actually be vulnerable themselves. The indirect information gathering. When direct monitoring feels too risky or revealing, the pattern often shifts to something more subtle, indirect information gathering through your social circle. They start asking mutual friends about you in ways that seem casual, almost coincidental. "Oh, how's your name doing these days?" They ask your mutual friend over coffee, phrasing it as if they're just being polite, just making conversation, just checking in as any decent person would. But it's not casual. It's strategic information gathering designed to assess your current emotional state and availability without having to expose their own continued interest or intentions. The questions feel indirect and the mentions seem offhand, but they're carefully designed to extract specific information. Are you dating anyone new? Do you seem happy? Have you mentioned them at all? Are you still hurt, or have you moved on? They're seeking these answers without having to risk rejection again by asking you directly. Sometimes they go even further, engaging with your friends on social media more than they ever did before, creating opportunities for your name to come up naturally in conversation. They're building intelligence networks, gathering data about your emotional state, all while maintaining plausible deniability about their true intentions. The strategic reemergence. Here's where the pattern often becomes most visible, the carefully timed return. Their reappearance in your life isn't random or coincidental. It's strategic, even if they're not fully conscious of the strategy themselves. Pay attention to when they actually reach out with something more than a breadcrumb. It's often when you're going through something difficult, when you've posted about a personal struggle, when you've shared something vulnerable, when your emotional door might be open, because you're in a state of need or uncertainty. They have an uncanny sense for these moments. Maybe you posted about a tough day at work, or shared something about feeling lonely, or mentioned a family difficulty. Within hours or days, there's a message. "Hey, I saw your post and just wanted to check in. Hope you're okay." The birthday messages arrive right on schedule. The holiday texts come through like clockwork. The thinking of you during this difficult time messages appear exactly when you're most vulnerable. These aren't coincidental acts of kindness. They're carefully timed interventions designed to catch you when your defenses are lower, and you might be more receptive to their attention. It's like they're watching for the moment when you're emotionally hungry, when you haven't had much support or connection, and that's precisely when they offer their small gestures. Not a full meal of commitment and clarity, just enough to remind you they're still there, still an option, still something you could return to if you wanted. The backup option dynamic. So what's really happening beneath all of these patterns? Often, what you're witnessing is a backup option dynamic playing out. They rejected you for whatever reason. Maybe they weren't ready. Maybe they chose someone else. Maybe they were scared of commitment. Maybe they simply weren't feeling what you were feeling. But here's the key. They don't want to fully close that door. They're maintaining your availability as a form of insurance. They don't want to commit to you right now, but they also don't want to lose the option of you entirely. It's a way of keeping their options open, of maintaining flexibility in their emotional life. Your continued responsiveness serves as their safety net. Every time you respond to a breadcrumb, every time you engage with their low-effort gestures, You're confirming that you're still there, still interested, still potentially available. And that confirmation gives them comfort, reassurance that if their current situation doesn't work out, if the person they chose instead of you doesn't pan out, if they decide they made a mistake, you might still be there waiting. It's not necessarily malicious. Many people who engage in this behavior aren't consciously trying to manipulate or hurt you. They're often acting from their own insecurity, their own fear of loss, their own inability to make clear decisions. But regardless of their intentions, the impact on you is real and often painful. Taking your power back when you choose unavailability. Here's where everything changes, where you reclaim your emotional autonomy and self-respect. You get to decide that you're not available for these testing games anymore. This isn't about revenge, spite, or trying to hurt them back. It's about honoring your own worth and protecting your own emotional well-being. The moment you stop being available for this pattern is the moment you truly honor yourself. You're not waiting in the wings anymore. You're not the backup plan, the insurance policy, the safety net. You're moving forward with intention and self-respect. When those low-effort 2 a.m. texts come through, when those breadcrumbs get dropped at your feet, you have a choice. You can choose not to respond, not out of anger or bitterness, but out of genuine self-preservation and self-love. You can choose to let that message sit there, unanswered, because you recognize it for what it is, a test of your availability, not a genuine offer of connection. The transformation that happens when you make this choice is genuinely powerful. You shift from being someone's maybe option to being your own clear priority. You stop accepting breadcrumbs because you've remembered that you deserve the full meal, full presence, full commitment, full respect. You recognize that someone who needs to test your availability after rejecting you isn't actually ready to offer what you deserve. The real victory comes when their testing behavior no longer affects your inner peace. You're no longer checking your phone hoping they'll reach out. You're no longer analyzing every small gesture for hidden meaning. You're no longer available for games that diminish your worth. You become living proof that when one door closes, you're fully capable of finding better ones. Or better yet, building your own. That's how you truly win in this situation. Not by playing their game better, not by making them jealous, not by trying to get them back. You win by walking away from the game entirely and choosing yourself with absolute clarity and conviction.